Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Thursday, June 13th. So, we had another good day yesterday as far as getting stuff knocked out. And thank you for tuning in to the video yesterday afternoon that I did on how to turn your retirement years into a side business. And I thought we'd go more into that this morning, continue kind of where I left off. So, stay tuned. All right, so welcome back. My name is Eric, and this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Thursday. Now, as I was saying, that continuation of things going the right direction continued yesterday, and that was the guy had been out of town that owned the compact tractor, the John Deere, that had a fuel issue, and he was surprised and in a good way that he wasn't going to have to eat a new injector pump. So the cost to him was minimal compared to what it could have been, right? But in that situation, one of the things that I brought up in yesterday's video or day before yesterday was now I got it running. Now I can hear a knock in it. So, as a good mechanic and as a good business owner, if you see something, say something. It sounds like down the city, right? But if you miss it or decide, I'm not going to say anything because, first off, I want to get paid, and second off, he's going to think I'm drumming up work. And that's just the opposite. I really am not interested for the summer to take on an engine rebuild. Fall, winter, yes, but not during the summer. We got too much stuff going on. We're trying to get the hay up and everything. But I brought it to his attention, and he said, "Yeah, I've done that for a long time." All right. And I also brought up that he was 2 quarts low on oil in the engine. And he said he'd have to look into that. But he's not somebody that's meticulous when it comes to taking care of their equipment. He seems to run it till it don't run no more. And then he calls us. So that went well. That's going back this morning. Be a nice little check to put in the bank. And then we jumped over onto, we put a brand new pump in, my 820, a hydraulic pump. And like I told you with these Chinese aftermarket stuff, there's always a slight difference. The holes don't line up, what have you, right? But it turned out that it lined up on the pressure side, and on the return side, it didn't. And for most people, they would just kind of throw their arms in the air, right? Well, we're not most people. See, there's always a workaround if you look for it. And the first pump they sent wasn't even close. And as I told you in another video, when I ordered that pump, it was like $400 and some dollars. And when I sent them a message saying it's not the right pump, and I gave them a picture of their pump sitting side by side with my pump, and they just walked away from it. They said, "Keep it. It's not worth returning it." So I've got that pump here in the shop. So I went ahead and they refunded my money. So I went ahead, I ordered from a different seller. This one came in, and now it's getting closer to where I need that tractor for haying. And so with any hydraulic system, you have one side of the pump is going to produce pressure, right? And on this pump, it's a John Deere, an older John Deere. All the rest of my John Deeres have got this huge pump. This one here is about this big around, about that long. And it's the same one that's on my big Deutz. Okay? So we ended up, it's got power steering. So what they did was they did a 2-pump system in one pump. The furthest pressure side coming out is for the power steering. And then the second one, which is a bigger block, is for everything else, the hydraulics. That all bolted up. That was fine. Because they were individual parts, you could move them around. Now on the return side, everything come back to this one central location. But there was 2 ports to return to, one for the power steering and one for the main pump. So what we end up doing, since it's on the return side where there's not a lot of pressure against hoses and stuff like that, because this was all steel fittings, copper fittings and stuff, is Claude ended up cutting it because it was too long for the pump. So Claude cut out a section, brought it in, and then soldered it all the way around. And we were working on it day before yesterday, and we noticed that when we were trying a piece of equipment that there was a pinhole in the solder. So he took that all back out yesterday morning before he come down to the shop and cleaned it all up, because once you get oil on it, the solder won't stick. So you got to get it clean. So he got it all cleaned up and cooled down and soldered it again, and that fixed it yesterday. We put that back on, and that was great. When it came to mowing, my son had used the Frontier mower on the John Deere 2640, and that's not the right mower for that machine, but I helped him hook it up. It's my fault, and left him to go mow. What I didn't take into consideration is on those, the Deutz is a big tractor, so the PTO shaft is going to be longer, right? And if you're a farmer or you've been around 3-point hitch equipment, you have to fit the new unit to your tractor. And that means you need to cut your PTO shaft down most often, because they make them longer than they need to be. And most people don't realize that. And that's a good way to damage a lot of equipment, is not to cut it down so it doesn't have any way to, because it's supposed to be able to slide in and out of a collar, right? But if it's tight on both ends and it can't move, something's got to give. And that's what happened to the 2640 and the Frontier, is whether he lifted up or what have you, it's not his fault, my fault, because I hooked it up for him, was it ended up smashing it farther up the PTO shaft on the tractor. So we physically had to split the PTO shaft away from the equipment, drive away from it, and then we tried prying it off. We couldn't get it to pry off, so we ended up taking the whole rear end. There's 4 bolts in the back, and the whole unit slides right out, all right? We took that down to the shop and put it in a vise. And then we used our Porta power to put some pressure on it and kept hitting it with the hammer, and she broke free. We lucked out and dodged a bullet on that one. It didn't hurt the shafts, nothing like that. So we got that all back together. That was just moving in the right direction. We wanted to see how the 4-port system on the 820 for hydraulics was going to work. And for some reason on the rake, it was working as far as lifting and lowering the rake, but because it goes out into a V, and then when you get ready to travel down the road, it comes back in and locks so that it's straight behind the tractor. So we got to do some more work on that this morning. Ran out of time. And there was also on the 820, there was a leak because we wanted to take it down and hook it to the baler. We just put the used belt back on. And we've been looking at this fuel leak now for 2 years, and it's gotten worse. And I asked Claudia, so what's it going to take to fix that fuel leak? He said, I don't know what's in there. I said, well, there's only one way to find out. And so we took the top cover off the injector pump, popped the clip, and out slid this piece. But first thing we noticed is there was an O-ring on it, and the O-ring was flattened. So we peeled that off, flipped open. I have a big bag full of metric O-rings that came with a huge kit when I was redoing the hydraulics on my Mini. And they're all metric. So I told Claude, there's got to be that O-ring in this kit. So we tried a couple different ones until we found one that was snug. Went back out, put it back together, voila, stopped the leak. I don't even want to think of how many gallons of fuel we've dumped on the ground over the last 2 years because of one O-ring that we should have fixed back 2 years ago. But it's fixed now. So today we're going to be delivering the one tractor back home, picking up a lawnmower on the way back through. And then we're going to try to rake what we have on the ground and bale it. And then use the wrapper to make sure everything is going to work before we decide to jump into it full-fledged next week. So this video is not going to be super long today, but the other part of the video this morning, I want to talk about the retirement and the lucrative business that you could do on the side. I've been seeing some comments, about the old dudes. Well, let me tell you something. First off, in our area, most of them are young dudes. And the young dudes, Claude and I help as much as possible. We want to encourage them I don't look at them as being competition, all right? And let's be honest. Most often the case is the customer that you don't want coming into your business that is cheaper than cheap will be their customer, right? And you got to feel bad for them because they're trying to save their customer money and they're trying to make a few extra bucks on the side. And the other thing we do is we supply most of the parts for these guys. And I give them a discount on the parts so they got some room to make some money on it. But even if it was old dudes, what difference does it make? There's plenty of room. Have there always been the backyard mechanics when it came to cars? Hell yeah. When I was growing up, everybody, us younger guys, we all worked on our own cars. That's how we learned, turning wrenches. If we had a bad 350 engine, we'd go down to the junkyard and you could buy one for around $200. And in a day, we could pull a 350 engine, drop another one in, get it all bolted up, and be out riding around in it. And so to say that this is something new, it's not. This is something that's been around for ages, a lot longer than me. Nowadays, you can't work on your own cars, so that's kind of gone by the wayside. So that just leaves your small engine and that kind of stuff that isn't computerized up the yin-yang of being able to work on it. The newer ones coming out with a computer system on the side is going to be a learning curve for everybody. And the guys doing it on the weekends and nights and stuff like that probably are going to stay away from them. But if you're a business, small engine repair business, or you own a mechanic shop, for cars, encourage those little guys because two things will happen. One is they might become your employee after they've learned how to do stuff and have gotten pretty good at it. Or they can be one of your best advertisers of, this shop here treated us good. And that's what it's all about. It's about relationships. I would never discourage anyone from getting into small engine repair. Whether it be retirement, make a few extra dollars, kid, trying to get some money to, buy toys when it comes to like dirt bikes and snowmobiles and all that stuff. No. Why discourage them? There's enough. I'm trying to think of how to put it. You got to support people that are doing well and encourage them and enjoy their happiness of learning how to do stuff, because there's more than just your happiness, right? It's everything's connected. But I'm gonna let you go for Thursday. We'll have to come up with something else in the morning. But the main theme of today is, we're gonna have good days and we're gonna have bad days. And we try to minimize the bad days and take advantage of the good days. And Monday was a bad day, but we end up turning it around, so we minimized it. The rest of this week so far has gone good. Knock on wood. All right, so we'll catch you here tomorrow bright and early. You guys have a great day, and thanks so much for watching.